This episode of Skirmish Supremacy is brought to you by Reformation Brewery, the official beer of your game night. Starting. Okay, so apparently it is now recording. Just talking gently into the microphone for no reason. We're just going to go ahead and leave all this in here.
Words.
All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of Skirmish Supremacy. This is going to be our post-AdeptiCon episode. It's like 3 weeks late, but who gives a shit? Point of it is we're doing it now. Tonight,
you did.
Yeah, well, whatever.
I mean, you were the one who pointed it out that we're late. So.
Yeah. And tonight we're joined by Nick, and Robin is on as well. So the three of us were up there sporting SSP stuff at AdeptiCon. We all worked for a couple of different companies, pimping out their stuff. So we're going to talk about some of the stuff we saw tonight. How you guys doing tonight?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Doing great.
I'm
Everything
good.
is coming along for this weekend as well. So this weekend, folks, we're going to be doing some dust video filming. And I don't know when those will be out, but we're hoping to have them out soon.
Right, yeah. Trademark.
Trademark registration. Yeah. Copyright soon. Capital S.
Exactly. Keeping it professionally unprofessional as usual. So, pretty much AdeptiCon. Yes.
It was busy.
It was definitely busy. I think this year was actually busier than last year as far as attendance.
Probably. I don't know. I was in the vendor hall.
Yeah.
It was fun. But I don't even know. I know that in the big lobby area, away from the convention center, actually, that seemed fuller than it normally has been, or was last year. I can't really say has been, but just a lot of people all over the place in there.
Yeah, this year it definitely seemed like there was a lot more foot traffic. But we all pretty much helped out at different booths and got a chance to wander. Robin actually got a chance to wander more than Nick and I did this year. You bastard. But, so yeah, I guess Robin, this was your first AdeptiCon, right?
Yeah, it was my first time ever going, and my first time actually spending any more time in the Chicago area other than going through an airport. So, really kind of handy. I didn't really know what to expect. I had heard lots of stories, and I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I hear their interpretations of AdeptiCon and everything. So I just kind of put my plan together from what they were saying, which wasn't really much of a plan. I just kind of went up. I didn't book any events. I didn't plan on playing anything. I didn't take any miniatures, nothing like that. Just show up, wander around, take photos, meet people, kiss hands, shake babies, that kind of thing, and see what I could see.
Nice.
And
he did
and
a
help
lot
out
of baby shaking.
Well, we all have our hobbies. This one happens to travel, right?
It has baggage, but it's not carry-on. But so yeah, you got a chance to wander around quite a bit more. I know you were posting far more pictures than Nick and I did. So what was some of the stuff that really stuck out to you as like the highlights this year from what you saw?
Well, I mean, just for this year, I'm not entirely positive to compare it, obviously, but from a new perspective, I guess, was just seeing the variety that was there. I know AdeptiCon's history and I know how it started and everything, so seeing where it stands now is kind of impressive. The variety of things that you get to come across, the displays, the events, the different games being represented. There's a lot of things that you happen to see or hear about online and be able to put faces to names and put the people who work on the project to the actual project, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So being able to do that was really kind of neat. I'm a big fan of spectacle and absurdity. So seeing, this is a really loaded statement. Seeing the 40K stuff was actually really cool in that regard. When you talk about absurdity and spectacle, I'm still, I think that game's got a place and it scratches an itch for me, but I've never really seen so many like Forge World Titans and things like that. The models that are $1,000. Seeing, there's one picture I got during one of the Apocalypse games that was happening. It looks like there are 4 Reaver Titans just sitting on a crate with waiting to be put onto the table. And the concept of, hey, sitting on the side table waiting for somebody to do something with them is like $4,000 worth of product taken up in 4 models. That to me just kind of speaks of kind of that theater of the grotesque, that absurdity, that spectacle, that kind of like, there are certain things you might have in your collection that you bring out for special occasions, and this is definitely one of those things. And so there are a lot of events like that. There is a Space Hulk game going on that took up, like a 6 by 12 foot board and had 6 players involved in it at one time, and they just kind of reset a few times. The Infinity players had some beautiful tables. Big fan of Infinity, so seeing those was really cool. And again, talking about spectacle and absurdity, there's a team of Caledonian players who came in with a bagpiper playing their intro song, basically.
Nice.
So stuff like that was really kind of cool. Seeing the tables and displays that people came up with for all their various games. There's a Shinerbach themed 40K Space Marine army with beer koozie drop pods and custom tabards, life-size tabards. So that was kind of neat. Seeing the crystal brush stuff going on and the absurd amount of quality and work there. So it was just a lot of stuff going on, a lot to take in. And really, I just kept making the same circuit over and over again throughout the day, maybe walking that same path 3 or 4 times. And every time I'd see something new and see something different that caught my eye for some reason.
Nice. Well, speaking of absurd, you were actually spending some time with the folks from Wreckage as well. So,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I helped out their booth, just filled in a couple of time slots for them so that they could take a break and get off the concrete, because that concrete floor was brutal.
Oh,
oh man.
Yeah, if you didn't bring any pads or anything like that, standing on that concrete floor for 10 hours or however much it was for some folks was not easy to do. But yeah, I had the Wreckage booth set up and a couple other booths tied to that, so got to meet a few folks that way. Got to accost people with books and stickers and new products. Some of their Kickstarter products released that weekend. People could pick that stuff up. So seeing people get their hot toys, their new toys, roads and cars and stuff like that, and seeing how excited people were for that stuff was really kind of neat.
Yeah, well, it also helps that you were in the book itself. I mean, they pretty much stated on the podcast, episode 100, when they were like, yeah, this book wouldn't even be out if it wasn't for Robin. So,
or it would have been out a lot sooner.
Yeah,
I forget which one they actually stated.
Yeah.
I think they've stated both of those facts.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and so they thanked me by letting me give them free labor. Yeah.
Again,
good business plan, right?
Yeah,
I love it.
Sucker, but
I can't fault that.
Yeah, I think we were all, for the most part, free labor this weekend when it came down to it on everything. Because Nick, I know you were helping out over Sean with Relic Blade, right?
Yes. And it was kind of funny. I expected I would spend a decent amount of time there. It was, I would almost say Sean was needy girlfriend. Not that was actually a bad thing. I did show up to help him, but it was just hilarious because I would walk away for a little bit and I'd come back and he'd be like, "Where did you go?" Oh, sorry. No, I mean it was a lot of fun, and so I totally had a like, ooh, something shiny, and would walk away. It'd be gone like half an hour, and then come back, and something would have happened where he actually was like needing me. It would have been not dead, but just kind of slow, and so there was that time to wander away, and as soon as I did, something crazy happened. Come back and there's like 20 people standing there. It's like, oh, hey, hi, people.
Yeah.
How can I help you today?
Yeah, he actually had a lot of new stuff at the booth this year as well, right?
Right. So he was in the middle, or he's actually just finishing up fulfilling his third Kickstarter. I know that sounds bad, but he's been doing it kind of as the pre-order to help fund it. It's all 100% him, so. And it's still kind of small, but he was fulfilling his third wave, and he had just gotten all of the models in the mail, like had just barely finished packaging some of them when he flew out for AdeptiCon.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, he and that was actually one of his things, because we were kind of, talking about how things were going. And he's like, I'm still trying to figure out if it's paid off for all the packaging I've done in the last week. He's like, there's a lot of hours in those packages.
I saw as soon as he got back, he posted some photos in his group of he's got his entire family helping him package stuff immediately after AdeptiCon ended. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, his mom and dad and mother-in-law, everyone there helping him. Yep, even the dog. Well, in a couple weeks before that, he had posted a picture of his daughter. She was helping him package some stuff as well a few weeks before, but she was charging him cards. he had to provide her with game cards.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Smarter than some of us.
Right?
We just show up. We're like, oh, how do we lend a hand? They're like, oh, well, you rubes.
I had a lot of fun, and it was actually a lot of fun to hang out with Sean. Partly because I don't know, I say it's the California in him showing through and through, but he's just a character. So he was totally fun to just chill. We were talking Relic Blade stuff, and he'd be like, "Ooh, I need to write that down," and like run around for a minute trying to figure out, find something to write it on, and then decide to write himself an email on just different things with it. So I had a lot of fun there. I also got to pick up my stuff. I was also sitting next to the Scale 75 booth. That was terrible.
Yeah, I was going to say, so, feeding addictive habits, how did that work out for you?
Well, I was only a little over what my budget was. I would say that 80% of my budget was Scale 75. My parents were just here, and actually I've got one of my racks for paint full with the Scale 75, but I've got to rearrange my desk to actually fit it on there and move some other stuff around. So I had it setting by the door, and my mom came up and she's like, I was kind of looking in the hobby room, and I saw this rack just full of paint, and I was like, oh wow. And then I looked at your desk and I was like, oh my God. Because I have 3 more of those same size racks full, or nearly full.
Goals.
There are a lot of colors in the world. There's a lot of hues, variants, shades.
There are. I
gotta catch them all.
Yes. Very true.
Treating
very
hobby paint like Pokemon.
I don't see a problem with this.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
I do have to give a big shout out to the Gigarobo folks, because
they were awesome.
Well, I didn't actually, every time I went over there to, kind of, check it out more, other than the game looks really cool, they had something, new people were coming in, or like something was going on every time I walked over. I was like, damn it. But they did at one point, I think it was Saturday morning, they actually brought us over a couple of the pieces of foam, like exercise foam, so that we could stand on that. So that was kind of a lifesaver. Except for what didn't I think of doing until like almost closing time on Saturday? Taking and moving it beside the demo table where I was standing all day. So I would get 5-minute breaks to like stand, because Saturday we were just busy. It was really fun, but we were really busy.
Saturday was absolutely nuts this year.
Well, I heard from some of the veterans that the first opening day was really busy compared to traditionally, or how it's been in the past.
Yeah,
and everybody was a little concerned with how busy it was going to be come the actual weekend.
Yeah, because the first day is Thursday, and Thursday it was pretty hectic. It was pretty impressive. I mean, like usually you have those people who are there, getting ready for the tournaments or whatever, so they're playing in the tournaments and all that stuff. This year, it just didn't matter.
No. And I think a lot of it, too, is that there's a lot of mentality for the years past where it's like, oh, well, there's going to be plenty of stock because there's not that many people at AdeptiCon traditionally. They're like, there's be plenty of stock. I could go play my games and come pick it all up on Sunday. And this year, that was thrown right out the damn window. So,
well, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, because just from where I was at, like we blew out of, Gaslands in a matter of hours. It was gone by 2:00 in the afternoon.
That's definitely impressive. Speaks highly of the game. Besides what we've already seen and whatnot.
I think I heard more about Gaslands than I did Legion.
I'm also okay with that.
I don't know if I'm okay with that. I'm a big. I want Legion.
As the Star Wars nerd goes apoplectic.
I want it and I don't. I started to say something about it the other day. I want it because it's Star Wars and seems like it's fun, but then again, I don't, because it has Luke and Vader in it, and I'm like, but Jedi are so much more than that. They shouldn't be included in the base set.
Yeah, but that means that now people have to go and learn who all these other Jedi are that have been in, every book ever. But since, Dark Horse and most of the other books are now considered not canon and not actually part of the Star Wars universe, none of that matters anymore. It's just Luke and Vader.
But they have introduced, other people in like Rebels and, stuff like that. But for me, I think the best, what I would love best out of a Star Wars game would be to go to some period in time like the Old Republic, or, some other time where you can have, the different Jedi, if you really wanted to have Jedi. But you can also have the people, because, somewhere between the Old Republic and, the, current timeline in Star Wars, all the armor and stuff that was actually lightsaber resistant has suddenly disappeared.
Never existed.
Yeah, never existed.
Yeah, I was more of a Prince Shizor and Empire, or Black Sun Empire and all that stuff kind of guy. So
right, even that, I would love that. I would love, and I liked it when they did bring that into like X-Wing. I really think Armada would benefit from that.
I would get into Armada if that was the case.
And I think that Legion could benefit from that, because it at least brings in a third, entity that everyone can fight and isn't the same. Even if it isn't, then you can also introduce some of the Force sensitive people and stuff like that. Because there are still those running around.
You're talking crazy talk now.
I know.
You're defying Disney is what's happening right now.
Except for Disney isn't really. I don't think Disney would disapprove of that.
I could imagine if it made more cash that they'd totally open up that vault.
Exactly. That's my thought. The mouse wants the cash. As long as the cash is flowing, the mouse is happy.
So what I'm hearing is the mouse wants the cheddar.
Hey,
Yes.
Hey, zing!
I really wish we had cheesy audio tunes.
Yeah, this is wah, wah.
as everybody does it. Yep.
Exactly.
Oh, nerds.
Oh gosh. So on the vein of Star Wars Legion and all that, the booth right behind where we were set up was Imperial Terrain, and that guy has some amazing stuff. So
They're good at what they do. Yeah,
they are good at what they do. He had a few pieces that were his pieces that somebody had turned into terrain pieces that looked just fantastic. I'm actually pretty sure the demo boards they had set up over for the FFG for Star Wars Legion were actually used some of his terrain.
that'd be cool.
And-
I went and talked to those guys, and really solid conversations there. We ended up talking about 3D printing and kind of some of the technology stuff behind it all, and some of the different experiences we've had. Each of us has had in that respect, and that was something I really enjoyed about AdeptiCon in general. I ended up finding the Mod Cube booth, and those guys and a few others were just able to kind of talk about experiences using technology to produce the hobby stuff that everybody is there for. That's something that I'm really interested in and have been super entertained by, to the point where they're on the blog. You can find a post about how I tried to emulate the Mod Cube. So I ended up talking with that guy and talking about how I tried to do that and what my experience was, and kind of he explained some of the issues that he went through with production and some of the changes that he's making to his next product because of those issues, and shipping issues and laws with magnets and things like that. So that was actually really cool, being able to talk to people about how they actually produce their products from a technical standpoint, not just a they want to sell you a thing standpoint.
Right. And that is the coolest thing about Adepticon when it really comes down to it is, there's people there selling stuff. I mean, they have a vendor booth and a vendor hall. You would expect them to do that. But at the same time, if you want to talk to them about just kind of talking shop, it's a small enough show to where you could do that and you don't feel like you're holding up a line.
Yeah, that was really cool. And the Imperial Terrain guys as well. We had similar conversations. And that actually led to me to going to their website and checking it out a little bit more. They'll sell you the STL files for 3D printing your own terrain if you want to. A lot like how also printablescenery.com or printableterrain.com. I'm blanking on the name all of a sudden. The dude out of New Zealand who's been cranking out Kickstarter products like left and right for doing the exact same thing. He was over there across from the Forge World booth next to Knuckle Duster Miniatures. So it's been really interesting to see and hear from those kinds of folks about their experiences. And yeah, it's kind of what I got.
Nice.
Yeah, and going in the printable scenery guy, going and checking out his booth, and then he also had Architects of Destruction right next to him. That was it was awesome. I'm glad they didn't have products for sale.
Yeah, I was a little worried about that myself because that undead ship that they had printed from Printable Scenery as well. Oh, man.
Well, and then as I was walking by at one point, he was bringing out more stuff and putting it together, and I'm like, more? This was after he already had a table full, and apparently he had it on display somewhere else, or somebody else was using it. And it was stuff that he had originally planned on setting up. So I'm like, where did this come from? No, put it away. It's too tempting. It was like the Undead Fortress or some part of the Kickstarter as well.
Yeah, Printable Scenery was running a Kickstarter during AdeptiCon, actually, so I'm sure that helped.
Right. Yeah. So everything on their table was part of that Kickstarter.
Yep, and they got some gorgeous stuff. I've got a few of their files. I've been a big fan for a while now.
Yeah, I haven't made that leap yet. I haven't bought a 3D printer, so that's probably the only thing that saved me from
TikTok. Well, if you didn't get so much paint from Scale 75, maybe you could have pulled that off.
Maybe there was one that I was seeing advertised the other day. It was it's from a company. I think it's M3D.
Yeah, those are a company.
Yeah. So they've got like their new like mini printer, and I was looking at it and I'm like, oh, this is cool. It's like an affordable starter bundle and all this. And I was really looking at it. And then I saw that it printed at like 4.5 by 4.5 by like 2. And I'm like, I'm not printing for mice.
What is this? A 3D printer for ants?
3D printer for ants.
Yep. Yeah, size matters. Yep,
yeah,
definitely matters.
Yeah, I was like, that's just a little too small. I don't know what would be the right size, but bigger than that.
In carrying on with the 3D printer talk, there is an impressive number of people that I came across that did something with maker spaces, just in their side experiences or as part of their production process. I am blanking on the name of the tabletopper that I came across. It was a foam cut tabletopper. It was laser cut, it looks like. But that was all produced in a makerspace, and that was being sold by the company that's selling them for boards. It's a quick setup of a game board. And then there was other folks there that run some sort of makerspace or do a lot of work with university makerspaces or things like that, or just kind of community spaces that you could talk to about any of this kind of production stuff. So if you're just going to, network and see who you can meet about producing your next idea, like if you're interested in getting into producing a game, like, I don't know, maybe some sort of winter-based kids game that involves snowballs or something, things you throw at each other.
Who would want to do something like that?
Yeah, I know, right?
Sounds like a terrible idea.
Some idiot.
And out of Georgia, I mean, it's not like any Georgians know what snow actually is, right? So,
no.
It would obviously be a flop.
Yeah.
But you
Everything
can
about it sounds terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Snowball Warfare, you can find it on Facebook. What were you saying?
Some sort of like snowball warfare thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Slush combat, something.
But even if you're just kind of nosing around and just talking to random people you see walking through the halls and stuff, or just sitting around and have a cup of coffee with, you could get some feedback on producing those things from just attendees, even not just the people who are sitting behind a booth, but just the random folks and conversations you have. The amount of podcasters that are there was incredible. There's a lot of people on my list of names of people that I listen to that happen to be there. So if you ever want to get into podcasting, you could go and just walk up and chat with people about what they do, equipment, techniques, problems, experiences for any kind of thing related to this hobby. Some sort of support of it, whether it's production or entertainment or, designing your own stuff. That was really impressive to me.
I agree. There was a ton of people, that were just wandering around that you could, bump into and chat with. And I kept seeing that actually with Sean, because Sean draws all his own art, does his 3D modeling, everything. So, there was people that would come up and start talking about it and, asking some of those questions. And there was some people that would just, have massive conversations about, modeling and different modeling techniques. And, it was definitely, really awesome to, hear some of it and some of the people you did encounter.
Yeah.
And then
because I noticed that a few times at Sean's booth where people come and be like, "Oh yeah, who's your artist?" and all that, and he's like, "Me." "Oh, who does the sculpting?" "Me." "Who wrote the rules?" "Me." And they're like,
Just needs
"What?"
a little sign.
Yeah. You're like, "No, you're lying," and he's like, "No, it's all me."
yeah.
By the way, we are saying that like we don't recommend that anybody does what Sean does. Sean is amazing at being able to do all of that, but I can tell you from my own experience that that is damn near impossible to do. So,
Definitely takes a certain kind of person.
yeah, it does. I couldn't do it. I would screw that up so fast, and I'm not even afraid to admit it.
Oh, he does all his own rule writing too. I don't think we lump that in there, and that's definitely an important part of what he does.
Yes. Yeah, rules, layout, art, sculpting, it's all him. Even packaging.
Even packaging. Well, no, that he enlists his family.
Yeah. He
Child labor
outsources.
is real.
Yeah.
He outsources to one convenient location in his office. But, yeah. But let's see here. What else did we encounter at Adepticon? I didn't get a chance to really leave the booth I was in too much, so my Adepticon experience, mileage may vary for me. But did you guys notice anything else? I know the Fallout war game was there, but did anybody get a chance to try it? I know, Robin, you took some photos.
Yeah, I took some photos and I watched some other people play it a little bit. I didn't get to try it myself. I just kind of contented myself with watching. I didn't actually play like almost any game. I think I got like 3 demos of games, but Fallout was not one of them. That one, the miniatures look great. I think that the commentary that you might see online about the game probably stands up and is pretty accurate as far as the amount of tokens or symbols or special interpretation of things. There's a lot of little hidden meanings and little things to interpret. In order to roll dice, you need a bunch of specialty dice, and depending on the conditions, there's also range rulers and things like that for every little thing. And I get it. I think I get it as far as why this stuff might be the case. It does make it a very unique system, and it makes it where you need these things to play the game. But sometimes when I was watching the guy pull out the 3-inch range ruler and then go, "Oh wait, no, I need this one," and pulls out the 5-inch range ruler, or at least what it looks like. I couldn't help but go, why don't I just have a tape measure? Or why don't I just have this other ubiquitous gaming accessory that I'm already familiar with? So the game looks incredibly easy to comprehend, but difficult to follow. Or easy to follow, difficult to comprehend. It's one of those kind of oxymoron things. And that's kind of the impression I got from it just by watching it happen. I followed everything going on, but it felt needlessly complicated.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because I didn't get a chance to see much of anything. All I saw was the demo table. And, like a bad podcaster, I didn't even take any photos of it. So, but I know that you posted, what was it, 1 or 2 online?
I don't know how far they really got. I know a lot of my photos are in my personal gallery, and I don't know which ones I did share and which ones I did not. So my bad. Social media is a thing. I know it's a thing. I have to do it for work. But that's as far as I get some days. But the terrain, yeah. So actually, you just found the photo of the terrain. That does look really good, or at least whatever stuff this guy had. Some MDF cars and scatter terrain, some burned out husks. I think my favorite piece of terrain that he had was actually some gore bags, those hanging meat sacks that you see in the super mutant areas. Those were suitably disgusting and looked spot on as far as the style. I mean, most of the terrain did. Pretty much everything there, you look at it and you go, oh, that's Fallout. Everything had that distinct kind of Fallout style and flavor. But those meat sacks were probably my favorite. It's the little things, those little touches.
It's always the meat sacks.
I'm a big scatter trade. It's what little secrets does your board hide?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I definitely love scatter terrain. Which actually, I did pick up some stuff from Miniature Building Authority. They gave me some firing point benches for Blood and Plunder, along with pirate gibbets to use as well. So I got those, which are fun, especially the gibbets. Can just have those out somewhere. Trying to think of what else I picked up.
Oh, let's not forget that Miniature Building Authority was another company that was running a Kickstarter during AdeptiCon.
Yeah, they kicked that off on Saturday morning for their trucks, and those trucks are awesome. It's still going. It has funded, but and I think they've opened up a few of the stretch goals now too. So.
Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going on and a lot of products being pitched everywhere. And oh man, so many different things.
Yeah. Ash was there showing off his game coming out in June. So people got a chance to finally see Last Days.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time there. How did you get a chance to talk about the game, or did you just watch other people go through it? Or were you too busy, doing other things?
So the reason I laugh is Ash got there Thursday night. Was he there Friday morning or Saturday morning?
Friday morning.
Okay, yeah. So he flew in late Thursday night. And so, like, all day Thursday, Tim was busy with, people checking out his game, which was at the same was at the same booth. And so I saw Ash early in the morning. We chatted a little bit. He was setting up his stuff. And around lunchtime, I was just wandering around, and I saw this big crowd around Ash, and then Tim just standing at his table.
I was literally 4 feet away from Ash because we had to measure the space between the tables to make sure that it was like safe for a way to walk. And I'm sitting there watching all these people crowd around Ash. I'm like, yeah, I've got a game too.
Now,
it's right here.
Now, that's not to actually say that people didn't try Tim's game. Actually, Tim had just come back from like going to lunch or something like that. At least that was the excuse he gave me. But
I have some photos of people trying his game.
Yeah, they are online.
I do too.
It is a thing.
Or at least they're staring at the table and he's next to them. I mean, I'm assuming they're trying the game.
I was assuming too, even though they were rolling dice and looking at the sheets. I'm assuming they're trying the game, but one never knows. But yeah, I got a chance to share the booth with Ash, and Last Days does look absolutely amazing. I've got some miniatures I'm ready to start pouring out for that. Concept of the game is really good. It actually, the important sequence of like the pre-game and end-game sequence of, a miniatures game, a lot of people look at it and kind of say, hey, that's cute. It's actually very important in Last Days. Kind of like watching a zombie episode of anything on television or zombie movie. It's always kind of the stuff that you don't see going on with the fights that could really determine what happens to you as survivors. So a lot of really cool concepts in the game, and it looks really easy to play. So definitely look for that one coming out in June.
Is it
then
June?
there's some other, it's coming out in June. June 19th, I believe, is the date on that. I might be wrong on the specific of the date, but I know it's the second half of June that Last Days will be out. Then there was some other game about Vikings and shit that was there, but nobody really cared.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's not called Ragnarok.
Yeah.
It hasn't been posting, new artwork or anything.
Well,
Couple
not yet.
photos.
Not yet. But Yeah, for the folks
It's keeping
listening,
things undercover.
it's what was that?
Things undercover.
Yeah.
But
Hey, hey, but yeah, so the Ragnarok demos actually went really well. I ran the demos for a lot of people when Ash wasn't around, and yeah, everybody loved it. Like I was actually pretty over the moon with the reception that the game got. Some people did figure out fairly quickly after playing a few rounds. They're like, "This is a superhero game disguised as a Viking game," and I'm just like, "Shh." And I understand I just said that online. But yes, that is kind of the concept behind the game. It is very much over the top and crazy as far as like how the combats can play out. And yeah, I was expecting some harsh criticism from the War Machine crowd, and I think that those are the ones that surprised me the most. War Machine players, and again, this is not a stereotype. It's just a lot of people, they see War Machine and they're like, oh, these are hyper competitive players. They want balance, balance, balance. And everything's got to make sense, and everybody's always playing to win. And every War Machine player I had was like, yeah, this game is awesome. You did a great job with it. So I'm like, hey, that right there is a seal of approval. And then game designers came by, and they were playing it as well. They loved it. Yeah. Past that, Nick was the one. If you guys do listen to the podcast and you got a chance to see some of the stuff going on, Nick actually made a demo board that he drove up from Atlanta to Chicago for the event that looked amazing. And I'm sure that most people just came by to look at the demo board. They didn't really give a crap about what game was on it. But yeah, he did a great job on that. And, it gave me something to lean on when Ash was talking.
Well, thank you for that. I did like making the board. Of course, Ash showed up and he had a really nice board as well, but that was made from adamant greenleaf terrain. So, that whole, Ash was overshadowing you while Adam's work was overshadowing mine. Bastard.
Fucking Canadians.
Damn it. My country. What are they coming in here for?
Yeah.
At least he should have apologized for it. Would have been the Canadian thing to do.
Yeah, no. He just gave me a hug. That's all he could do. Ash just gave me a hug. So, I take that for what it is. But, yeah, I mean, past that, like I said, I never really got a chance to leave the Osprey booth. I was running demos pretty much all weekend. There were some people that had some hiccups that were kind of a bummer. Our friends over at Dust, they just shipping internationally sometimes is a pain in the ass. Like, you can have everything set up to be here, and then you get stopped by customs for whatever reason, and it can push back shipments anywhere from a half a day to 2 weeks. So they were supposed to have the new Lilith's Coven box set for the Mythos there, and they couldn't because of customs. So yeah. A bit of a setback, but still, they had a really good weekend.
And I mean, they did the best thing that they could, and that was, if you want this stuff, you can buy it, here at the show, and we'll ship it to you free of charge.
Right.
So it was the best thing that they could do in a crappy circumstance, and I think that appeased most of the people who were coming up looking for it. It did mean that I couldn't actually steal a whole Mythos army. I was bummed out about that.
Yeah, they had them off to the side, and you could have stole the ones out of the display case, but
that's a little too far for me.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't put it past us. I would have done.
I wouldn't put it past you. Me, I'm at least a somewhat nice person sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, so they did well. I don't really think anybody had there was those hiccups, but I don't think anybody really had a bad weekend. Hell, even Corvus Belli, for their first really kind of official time being there, were kicking everybody's ass with Aristea too. Like, they had tables set up for that, and they were busy all weekend.
They were there last year and that was the other thing. I really liked how they laid out the kind of the three major people this year. The three being Corvus Belli, Privateer Press, and Forge World. Because last year, it was, I think they had Corvus Belli and Privateer Press on the same aisle, and the line was it just completely blocked that entire aisle.
That's
for people going to both of them.
Okay.
Because they had convention specials that, the moment the doors opened on Thursday were like flying off the shelves. And
that'd probably be why I never saw the Corvus Belly booth, because there's always just a line along that area.
And then and then Forge World was like one over from it. And that line was just insane last year. So now that could also be, I don't know if there was anything, spectacular being released by Corvus Belli for Infinity or Aristia at Adepticon. So
they did have some good releases. So they released their new book Uprising, which I was super excited to get my hands on. And then for Aristia, they actually had a couple of what they're calling, I guess, skin packs or expansion packs. Some different model or variants on some of their characters and things like that. So they did have a couple of new releases for both of their lines.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I remember that now because you opened the book in the room and it almost choked you.
Yep. That book stunk to high heaven. Oh my God. I could not. I don't think I've ever opened a shrink wrapped book and had a scent that powerful. That was really impressive.
That new, fresh, right off the boat ink.
Yeah, I mean, usually, I guess, even if they're shrink wrapped, there's at least a little bit of time for things to air a little bit and kind of seep through some of that plastic. This was incredibly fresh.
I thought you were getting a contact high when you were looking at that book in the room.
Yeah, no, definitely felt that way. I ended up, I was going to sit down and read that book for like 30 minutes or an hour. I crack open the plastic, open up the book, and go and immediately close it back up and go, nope, I got to set this off to the side. I'll take a look when I get back to Atlanta.
I mean, the pictures in it are very, very colorful and pretty. I'm sure they just would have looked a lot more colorful and pretty if you would have kept reading it.
Oh, yeah. And then my follow-up book was actually going to be the Slaves to Darkness reprint from Forge World. It's one of their event books that they offer. If any old-time GW hound is listening, then the Slaves to Darkness 1 and 2 books that incorporated Rogue Trader and fantasy stuff and all that kind of business and some of the real old school old hammer, core hammer type artwork where demons were actually demons and things were really messed up. That would have been an amazing book to flip through off of that immediately following the Infinity one.
Right?
These demons are moving.
The colors, Duke. The colors.
Back when demons used to actually be demons.
Yeah, where violent sex and violence and rock and roll were oozing off the pages. Every page was a metal album cover. Oh yeah, I'm flipping through it right now real quick and just going. It's just amazing stuff. Oh man.
Which is awesome. So, and then Mike Cousins from Epic Duck roomed with us during Adepticon. He actually came down from Canada to join the Americans in their trek across, well, pretty much just the Renaissance Schomburg. We didn't really go very far.
But, no, we really didn't.
But I do have to thank him for turning me on to Warhammer Underworld Shadespire, which is something that I am now going to be playing.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I got a chance to watch him play it, and it was very, very late at night. So, I mean, it could have very well been a fever dream, and I'm hallucinating the whole thing. But, yeah, he had a chance to sit down with one of his friends and play it, and I actually really enjoyed the mechanics of the game and kind of the way that it plays out. So I'm going to give it a whirl.
Tim's going over to the dark side.
I still play Age of Sigmar, just in Skirmish.
Yeah, I feel like this is that. Look, mommy, it's this. No, Ricky, don't look. Oh, it's too late.
Yeah, it's no. I don't plan on getting into.
I have a Warhound Titan.
No, God, no. I would never ever do that to myself.
I don't know. They could be kind of sexy. Tell you, every game scratches an itch. That one just happens to be lots of dice and lots of stuff on a table.
So,
Slather it down in coconut oil.
Talking about big machines stomping across the ground, Foreground was posting pictures today of they're going to have they've combined with somebody else, and they're going to have at Salute this weekend a 28 millimeter BattleTech-esque game going on. So they've got 28 millimeter versions of BattleTech mechs 3D printed and painted up, and all I could think of is I need these in my life.
I was going to say they have to be a minimum of 3 feet tall.
I don't know exactly how tall they are. They're big. I would say that they are at least an Imperial Knight, if not bigger size. And
that might work for the 20 tons.
And that could be that could have just been the smaller size ones. I was looking. They were all standing next to each other, so now I've got to look and see.
So doing a quick search online for some photos of things, I don't know how far back some of these are or how official or anything along those lines, but there are some of these models coming up that are mounted on CDs as bases. So if that helps you give an idea of some of the scale and size.
I mean that's about 4 inches. That's not very big.
No.
Are we talking about CD size or something else entirely now?
Maybe both. What? Oh, I tagged Tim in it. So Tim has the link for it. I thought I had posted it on the Facebook page, but I posted their Star Wars stuff instead. Because that stuff that they teased today is amazing. Black Site Terrain has been teasing that they may do a Naboo set of pre-painted terrain. And then Imperial Terrain, all combined, I was kind of like, oh, I want it more now.
Yeah, I am not finding anything of the big mechs from Salute. Sorry, folks, we are looking this stuff up online right now. So,
actively looking it up. Look at people who have tagged you on Facebook.
There's a lot of people that tag me on things on Facebook.
Okay, look at what I've tagged you in on Facebook. Gosh.
Facebook's being an asshole right now. It's not working for me, so we'll find it later.
I found it. I found it. Save this post. We'll need it later.
Yeah.
Well, while you guys hunt that down, I want to talk about Eden. Because, man, I was super excited to see Happy Factory Games or Happy Games Factory, whatever they're calling themselves now. I was super excited to see those guys there and offering some Eden stuff, especially since it didn't require paying for shipping. Because shipping from them direct is painful. But I was able to pick up a couple of pieces, especially the yellow Shinigami, which was a model that was hard to find for a while. So I was very excited to find that. And across from them was Knuckle Duster Games. Picked up the Orc Amigos and a Dwarf Miner from them. They're starting to get a bit of fantasy or weird flavor for their range. So if you're into Wild West stuff or into Knuckle Duster Miniatures, who are in the process of fulfilling a Kickstarter as well, because that's a theme this month. They're looking to get into some of the weird side of the West and kind of bring in some of the traditional fantasy classes, tropes, stereotypes. I don't know what you want to call them, but they're planning on producing like a wizard and sorcerer, rogue, that kind of stuff in their style of thing. Which, if you've ever seen like their totally not Clint Eastwood and totally not Katy Perry stuff. They do some really amazing work as far as their technical skill in sculpting. I really like what they do.
Yeah, it's yeah, they do a lot of the cool alternative stuff, but I do really like a lot of the stuff that they do with just their traditional westerns too.
Oh yeah.
So
Like I said, they do some really good execution of stuff. And holy crap, Nick just posted those photos from Crow Industries of some of these mechs, and yeah, they look like they'll be pretty big.
So the Timberwolf is probably the heaviest one there. I'm looking at the Hunchback and their buildings. I've got one right here, probably about 3 inches of level, and it's about 9 inches tall, maybe a little bit taller. For a Hunchback, they have the Timberwolf, which is going to be the heaviest. I think the Timberwolf was a 65-ton mech.
75.
And is it a 75?
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry, my nerd's coming out. In BattleTech, the Timberwolf was my hands down favorite mech of all time.
And that one's probably anywhere around 10 to 12 inches. They don't have it up against a good building for full on measurement.
Yeah, it's
but they have elemental suits on the ground, which are probably 28 millimeters tall, and it's a lot taller. It's a lot bigger.
So it looks like they've got the 20-ton Wolf's Dragoons Locust is in one of those lineups, and there's a photo of it standing next to a vending machine, which, if you're looking at 28 scale miniatures, it's probably about the size of your traditional miniature, right? And that kind of comes up to about halfway up its leg, or like the lower half of its leg, so right below the knee joint. And that's the small mech compared to the 50, 35, and 75 ton mechs that they got on there, the Mad Cat and the Puma and the Hunchback. So you can kind of mentally extrapolate from there, I guess. Or, go to Crow Industries, their post on April 12th from 2017, and take a look at some of those photos.
This makes me want to play Giant BattleTech now. Damn it, Crow Industries.
That's honestly, when I tagged you in it, I'm like, this is how we need to play BattleTech.
It's painful. I mean, it's awesome, but it's painful because I'm just looking at this going, where would I even put this?
What do you mean? You bought a Detolf. That's where you put them in between games.
I would need about 6 Detolfs. So, yeah.
I mean, if you printed out the whole lineup, sure.
Yeah, but you know me, I would.
I mean, eventually.
So, yeah, that Mad Cat, I keep looking at it. I got to stop looking at it now. Okay, I'm closing this Facebook page. All right, so, yeah, definitely check out the stuff from Crow Industries. It's all really, really amazing. You know what? No, I'm not going to. I'll open it later. Okay. So, yeah.
To totally have side railed our Adepticon talk into giant mechs because they are amazing looking.
I actually did get a chance to play a game that wasn't mine this weekend. So on Saturday night, I actually got together with Corey Kammer from the Witchborn, and we played a couple games of the Witchborn and I was using the Wolven. I came in a very, very close second, unfortunately. But it was great playing the game with, more advanced war clans and seeing the nasty, nasty builds that he sets up for himself. And having a frickin' ogre throwing rocks across the map, the whole game gets really annoying really fast.
I could see that.
Well, so for those of you that don't play the Witchborn, it's played on a 3-foot by 4-foot mat, and the ogre has very long range, which basically means he could pick up a rock and chuck it anywhere on the map. Very long means if you could see them, you could throw a rock. And in this case, the boulder itself is also it's about the size of a 50 millimeter base, maybe a little bit bigger. It's about 2 inches actually. It's about a 2-inch diameter. So, yeah, he'll throw it right into the middle indiscriminately of a bunch of people that are fighting and just let it do what it does, which is a giant rock. And it gets annoying.
Fair.
Yeah. So
wait, doesn't one of your Wolven throw rocks too?
Yes, very tiny but deadly.
Well,
tiny.
I mean, you still throw one rock and one thing dies. So, I mean,
wait,
listen, rats.
Who was it that the last time we played had a ogre or something like that was throwing rocks?
Nathan was. He had an ogre that was chucking rocks across the damn map.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that thing. Dick.
Yeah, it was annoying as shit. So Corey's ogre has like all this sharpshooter skills and he gets to re-roll misses. Like he was chucking rocks and like you only get one die, but at the same time he had skills on it that was allowing him to get like additional range or not additional range, but like additional bonuses on top of the rock. And like if it hits, it does other stuff. And it was just like, oh, I hate this game. I mean, I love it, but I hated that game, like it just in particular. So yeah, that was it was a lot of fun. But the new build for the Wolven, we should see that stuff coming out soon. So they got rid of, for those of you that are playing Witchborn now and want to know about some of the new stuff coming out, the Wolven themselves, they had slings. They got rid of the slings and they now have bolas. So they're able to trap their prey a little bit better instead of just hitting things with slings at long range.
Oh, that's so much better.
Well, it drops to short range.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess at least there's that. Oh, wait, Wolven can just run across the board.
That's not true. Just mine.
Just yours. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Tim has special Wolven.
Well, the mutations allowed them to do that because they all basically have dart, which is an additional 3 inches worth of movement. But that's neither here nor there. So yeah, we got a chance to play. Hopefully soon I'll have a War Mammoth on that group. Hopefully soon. We need to play. So speaking of which, we need to play more Witchborn, guys.
Why? So you can have a War Mammoth?
Yes.
I'm good. I will deny you a War Mammoth for as long as possible.
I'm kind of in Camp Nick there.
That is because your rats got beat. All sorts of beat the last time you played.
Yep. There were a lot of the Wolfen Terriers in there.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was great. I had fun with that one. But but yeah, it was fun playing the game. I'm excited for the Daughters of Twilight to be coming out, which are the Dark Elves. And then with the Wolven, there will be a new adventure that comes out with it. I think it's called the Seven Sleeping Kings. I might be wrong on that. I know that name might be tweaking soon. But yeah, Corey's got a lot of stuff in the works. So I'm glad to see that, another publisher that for the most part does everything almost 100% by himself is coming out strong. And getting into retail for a change, which is really good.
Yeah, no, that's definitely good. It helps with the exposure, and I know Discover Games down in Fayetteville, they have it, and I haven't checked on the group in a while, but it seemed like people were playing kind of regularly.
Yeah, they still get in a couple of games a week, so they're doing pretty well with that. Definitely if you play the Witchborn enough and you get like a small micro campaign going, it's definitely one of those games that you have to play it with beer. So yeah, because you're going to have games where the dice hate you a lot, like more than they should, but they do.
Yeah. I swear that's been every game of the Witchborn that I've played. And then the Wolven are just like, yeah, we roll, but we don't really care. We did it anyways.
That's not true. If you don't remember the very first game of the Witchborn that I played at AdeptiCon this last year, I got my ass kicked by one model, and it was pretty much total party kill.
The The funniest part on that is the model ran away from you and you threw rocks at it.
I did.
Literally threw rocks at it.
I made all bad choices.
You were the architect of your own demise.
Besides the point. That was a game of successive bad choices. So, yeah, so it's funny because we actually played the same one, which is Enter Perdition, again at Adepticon. And sure enough, guess what I ended up drawing? This time I didn't let her get away. Like, I shit stomped that Witchborn woman into the dirt. Because I was like, yeah, I remember what happened last time. We're just going to go ahead and swarm her. So I threw 5 Wolven at her to make sure she went away. Because I was like, no, we are not having a repeat of what happened last time.
Well,
and
no
Corey's over there going,
yeah, he's like, oh, I'll let you deal with that. But then, yeah, we had some Nari Centaur that came onto the board, which are basically Witchborn Centaur that are really good with bows and can cross the river like it's nothing because they can. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had that happen too.
Yeah, they suck.
A lot.
But it was great. Yeah, that was pretty much the only game outside of my own that I got a chance to play all weekend. We did touch base a little bit with the guys from Firelock Games, just kind of seeing how they were going. They also kind of got caught in the woes of everything that is customs. Chinese New Year and customs kind of threw them back on some books and things like that. So, I still know they had a successful show, but they would have had a much stronger showing if they could have had some extra stuff in there.
Yeah, because they all their no peace be on the line stuff is just waiting on those books to get here.
Yes. Oh, and Wild West Exodus also had a massively successful show now that they are with War Cradle.
I was going to say they had some really bad luck, actually, before the show actually happened. One of their shipments apparently got left out on the dock in the rain, and so some of their boxes ended up molding some of their actual retail product. They ended up having to send a bunch of stuff back and not having certain things.
Oh, man.
That's rough.
They were also a little late or a little behind on getting their booth set up, so they were actually still setting up on Thursday while people are starting to mill about and come try to check them out. So yeah. I felt really bad for those guys. They were busting ass trying to get stuff done and get the show up and running. It was a little rough to watch, but they ended up getting stuff going and ended up having some good chats with some of those folks. I'm really looking forward to some of their new posse groups, war band things.
Sets of miniatures.
Yeah, sets of miniatures with names and predetermined stats and stuff. Those are still a few months out. So if you end up following them and have been wondering where their their Jesse James or whatever it was, the re-release posse, not the Golden Army, not Absolute Power, whichever it was, they still got a few months coming out before they actually end up happening. Wild Bill's Rangers, the Helena's Infernal Investigations, and Countess Byron's Galvanic Mysteries. Those are the box set names. I'm specifically interested in the Wild Bill Ranger Showboat Posse. But those still have a few months to go, apparently. I was a little disappointed to hear that. I was really hoping to see some of those sculpts at the show, just to kind of get an idea, because I haven't really seen that game in the wild too much myself. So I've been really curious to see what that stuff looks like. So that was kind of nice to see a few things, but just didn't get to see what I wanted to see out of them.
Right. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it'd be great if you guys got into it, because it would be nice to dust off my Warrior Nation and pick up a couple extra things and just keep playing again. Because I don't know if any of the listeners out there used to play back in the day, but there was some stuff in the game that was straight up broken that needed fixing. Warrior Nation was definitely one of those factions, and they fixed it all for the most part. But back when it was with whatever company had them before, I think it was just when they were by themselves. Like it was one of those games where it's like if something was broken, it got nerfed so bad it became completely unusable. And so it was like very swingy, but it seems like they've got everything right in line now. Because I was talking with some folks that I knew from when I lived up in Milwaukee that used to play with me. And they said, yeah, the game is totally balanced out now. Like it all makes perfect sense. You still get the same flavor of what you had before when stuff was really, really awesome, just without it being so awesome it's broken. So I was excited to hear that. Apparently they got rid of the names of the shapeshifter characters for the Warrior Nation. So it's no longer Sitting Bull and Geronimo. It's Raging Bear and Shadow Wolf is, I believe, the names that they gave them. I'm not exactly certain as to why, but if any listeners out there happen to, play Wild West Exodus and know why that is, feel free to post a comment because I'd like to know. But that pretty much wrapped up everything I saw at AdeptiCon. I wish I could have got out of the booths a little bit more in order to see more, but that's kind of why we had Robin.
That is definitely what it seemed like.
Yeah,
you're a reporter on the streets, or as the guys from the Sons of Heresy podcast refer to me as the handjob servitor. But that's a whole different conversation in different podcast.
Well, okay.
Yeah, you're getting a name change now. Your title changing. The page is changing.
I'm yeah. I feel like he's been holding out on us, Tim.
Hey, you gotta listen to more podcasts. Gotta make the rounds.
Oh man.
I do have to thank TT Combat for not having Rumble Slam out as a demo. That helped keep me from buying it once again.
Yes, Rumble Slam, another game that we need to get into. Mostly because we also want to dress up in costume and dance around on camera like a bunch of idiots.
Technically, there's nothing stopping you.
There's not. But that game would push it over the edge.
Yeah, probably. Most likely.
So, yeah. Overall, good times. AdeptiCon was really fun. I've already kind of started thinking what I would do differently if I was to go back next year. It's probably spend more time helping out the Rec Age guys at their booth. Probably actually take some miniatures with me and play a game of something. Don't know what, but maybe one of the Dead games. I'm kind of interested in War Master, Epic, the things that nobody really sees except at places like Adepticon. That'd be pretty cool to do. And kind of scratch some of those itches. Otherwise, just go back, catch up with folks that see what new projects they're doing and what new exciting stuff people have been working on in the past year.
Speaking of Epic, you got a whole bunch of Epic stuff.
Yeah. They had one of those swap meet things, and one Anton from Rec Age happened to end up in front of him somehow at his little swap booth, and he said, "Here, take this box." And I went, "Okay," and it was filled with Epic stuff. So, my orc army grows even further.
Very awesome. And then there was some Eldar and Space Marine in there too, right?
There were a couple of small spattering pieces of that stuff. Not enough to really call out as being a thing, really.
There was Imperial Guard because they had Rough Riders in there.
Yeah, there were a couple. So some of the Rough Rider kit sprues, some of the sprues from I can't remember what box it was, but where they had the Orc Dreadnoughts, the Contemptor Dreadnoughts, the Deradeo, and some of the androids, the Chaos androids, and things like that. That particular set of sprues, there are a couple of those with some Stompas and things like that. So yeah, definitely some bikes and Rough Riders and lots of Orc vehicles, Orc infantry, Dreadnoughts of various flavors. The Eldar Titan is in there, but it is missing an arm, so I'm going to have to design and print a new arm for it, which I'm actually kind of excited for because I've never tried to design something with an Eldar flavor to it. So that could be kind of neat.
So Bubbles.
Giant spear, lance, something. I gotta look up what that unit actually does so I know what gun to model.
Nice.
And then and speaking of Epic, there were some people playing Epic 30K up there, and man, that was beautiful to see because there are people cranking out custom versions of miniatures, and it's one thing to kind of see some of the photos of that stuff. You know, some of the really impressive Forge World kits shrunk down to 6mm stuff, but it's another thing to kind of see that stuff in person, and that was pretty cool. I still don't know where to get it, damn it, but it was really cool.
I know I saw somewhere that had it. I thought I sent you the link, but this was a while ago. Where you could get the STL files because there was some cool ones, but that might have been another smaller project.
They're around. You just got to find them.
Yeah. Ooh,
I know a guy who knows a guy who opens the back door, and there's the bootlet or the speakeasy of miniature design.
So another person and stuff that I picked up that I've been really happy that I picked up is Tom Mason was there and he was selling stuff. He and Trey Manor had partnered up, so Redbox Games and Tom Mason with Mini Sculpting Super Show were there, and Tom actually had released a set of 5 goblins beforehand. Had just finished them up and brought them to AdeptiCon. So I picked up a couple sets that goes along with his Cronin or Little Knife and Cronin set that he released last year. And actually, I've got one of them right now. It's a little goblin. I mean, they're teeny tiny. They're I think a penny's bigger than them.
Oh yeah, I'm kind of concerned that you're going to breathe in too sharply and just like swallow it.
I mean, he
3 feet away.
He is super teeny tiny. But he's got a club, and then he's got a trash can lid, or what looks like a pot lid or trash can lid as his shield.
Even better.
I know, right? It's like, this is awesome. He's using a pot shield as or a pot lid as his shield. And they're hilarious. I mean, they're on, I think these are Rendra, like 15mm, maybe
15 or 20.
Yeah. Bases, and they're about half the size.
Yeah. They're very, very tiny.
They're just so cute.
But amazing. They like the sculpts on them were great.
They are. And actually, you mentioned it earlier, Mike Cousins, Epic Duck Studios, that first night, like, he bought some and he went and painted it, and I just was an amazing paint job on that little sucker.
Oh yeah, I really liked his color choices on that one, actually.
Yeah,
good decisions there.
Yeah, and then he's been annoying the hell out of me with killing it on doing cell shading on all of the new Relic Blade stuff.
All because some asshole has to say something to him.
Yeah, well, he and I were talking, and he said something about, I feel like I want to do cell shading on him, and I was like, I've wanted to do that since the first time I had a Relic Blade Mini. I just haven't thought I was good enough at doing the painting. He's like, well, maybe I'll try it, and I was sitting there, and I was like, all right, and I came up with a version of it. He's like, oh, that's really cool. I'm gonna do it. Painted the same exact Mini, 10 times better. Let's put it this way: he posted it in the heavier metal group on Facebook, and I had posted there earlier my version, and somebody posted and went, dude, you have worked on that thing and it looks 10 times better than when you posted it earlier. Damn it. And Mike wasn't even nice enough to let me find it on my own. He went, no, that was Nicholas Bogart's. tagging me. Damn you, Mike.
Wah, wah.
It's almost as if he does this professionally or something.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, so that was pretty much Adepticon. Is there anything else you guys want to throw in there before we wrap this bad boy up?
I mean, I do want to say thank you to Alicia and Gregoire. Every time I walked by their booth, they gave me coffee.
Good point. Good point.
Nice. I thank you to everybody I met. There's feels like too many to list on some capacity. It was amazing meeting like Trey from Redbox Games, who had that booth with Tom, because I've communicated with Trey a few times, just buying his products and singing the praises there. So it's kind of neat to put faces to names. Meeting all the various personalities, whether they do entertainment stuff like podcasts and YouTube stuff like Ash, or Owen from Gaming with the Cooler, or people doing sculpting and design and game work, rules writing, editing, all that stuff. It was just from like somebody who's always been watching that world and finally getting to dip a toe into some of it. It was absolutely amazing. Meeting those folks, having dinner with folks, hanging out, chatting. Just absolutely amazing.
Definitely. It was a lot of fun seeing old people, seeing new people. There was some people that, it was only like later I realized, it's like, this is actually the first time I've met this person, in real life, not through the podcast and just, chatting, but running into him and just being like, hey, how's, and talk, it was nothing, it was just crazy. And, it was like that last year. It was fun running into people who, are listeners and fans of the show. That's definitely been fun. It was a little bit funny to talk with some people, and they're like, "Wait, I know you from something," and then tell them the podcast, and they're like, "Yes."
Yeah, I definitely was one of those kinds of people where I'd be walking down a hall or something, or walking past some game being played, stop, turn to a person, and go, "You sound really familiar. Do you do blank?" So yeah, I was one of those fanboys that weekend.
So, speaking of podcasters, it is hilarious. I have to go all the way to Chicago to run into Paul Murphy, who is I all of a sudden can't think of his podcast. It's a 40K podcast. But he lives like a mile from my house. And I pretty much never see him unless we go to some sort of event, and then we run into each other. Hell, we even go to the same barbershop, because in the intervening year I've run into him like twice, and once was at the barbershop. So
classic.
It's funny how small world, gets even smaller, and how the convention brings people together.
Yeah. I suppose I gotta do my thanks as well. I guess my big thanks still has to go to Osprey. I mean, they took a big old chance on me this last year by signing on my stuff, and this year it's just it's becoming more and more real the more I run it. So that to me is a huge thing. It's something I've worked on for a long, long time, and the fact that they decided to take a gamble on this idiot, it's pretty amazing.
It is.
Yeah, I'm amazed every day.
Yeah.
We're still not sure how he breathes.
Sometimes it's difficult, but we make it happen.
No, it is really good. And it's actually from Osprey Phil. Having a chance to talk to him more and more, definitely enjoyable. Yeah, man, yeah. There's too many people.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm sure we'll just list them all in the show notes and tag them on Facebook and everything else that goes along with it.
Eventually, it was great to see Wander. I did pick up my Mary Fix-It bust. Um, that was actually one of the last things I grabbed. It was actually it pretty much was the thing that pushed me over budget. But I do have a Mary Fix-It bust, so I will be working on that sometime soon.
Nice. All right. Robin, anything else you want to add in there before we wrap this bad boy up?
No, I think that's more or less kind of covers. I guess my advice to anybody who's ever been thinking about AdeptiCon or been Adepta curious, I would say the first year I would, if there's one particular game you're a big fan of, take miniatures for it and try to find a pickup game. But otherwise, don't plan on anything. Just go wander around, take it all in. There's usually events that you can just drop into because they got spots. So if you get that itch to go participate in a thing, you can usually do it. Just wander around. That's some of the best experiences were the organic ones that just happened because I was sitting there and somebody wanders up with a cup of coffee and to relax and you just start chatting. It's amazing how small a community can be when that stuff happens. I think if you get stuck in some of the events, especially the really big stuff, like it's cool that the 40K and the Age of Sigmar stuff is as big as it is, but that's going to require a lot of dedication of time. And at something like this, that is such a limited time experience. That means you have the opportunity to miss a lot. So I guess it just depends on what you want to go for, what you want to get out of it, and what you value more. But don't overcommit and let some of the organic stuff happen because you never know who you're going to come across and what kind of conversation is going to creep up out of that.
Yes, that's all very, very true. Just go and have fun. That's the big thing. Like AdeptiCon, it's a small enough show that you can actually meet the people from these companies that you enjoy so much. So it's good in that way.
Yeah, it's incredibly easy to walk up and have a conversation with somebody. You were sharing the booth with Osprey and all that. We've talked about Ash a lot, but in addition to that was Joseph. I think right, Joe McCullough is his name, right? The Frostgrave
guy.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that one, and happened to be able to chat about game design and kind of some of the stuff that kind of goes behind publishing a game and producing a stuff. And then that's just because you happen to be able to walk up and have a conversation about it. Cool.
Yep. Joey from This Is Not a Test was there. Actually, Bill Thornton, I think is his last name, from Footsore was there, and he was really fun to talk to because he does a lot of their or he does a decent bit of the sculpting for Footsore. But and then I was gonna mention it, as you were talking about, random people. They the Forge World had some of the Black Library authors there, so that you could go up and get stuff signed or get a picture with them, stuff like that. But it seemed like it was only really short time periods that any of the authors were there, but they were wandering around the show, and more often than not, I'd be walking somewhere and I can't think of which author it was, but he was walking around with this cowboy hat on with a snake, on it that had like its mouth open. So, kind of distinctive hat.
Super easy to spot.
Super easy to spot, but he was like always chilling, chatting with people, different fans and whatnot. So, there was that in there as well. I know Carlos from Corvus Belli was wandering around and giving demos and all that. So, he was somebody else that you could hit up and chat. Yep. It's a good show. I can't wait for next year.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think that's pretty much going to wrap up this episode. I know we said we were going to have some short thank yous, but it's really hard to do that after AdeptiCon because we know so many people and it's always an awesome show to go to. But yeah. Well, folks, I suppose that's going to wrap up this episode of Skirmish Supremacy. We will see you next time. Thanks for listening to another episode of Skirmish Supremacy. To see more of the antics that Nick and I do, you can check us out on Facebook at Skirmish Supremacy. We also have Twitter, which we can be reached at Skirmish Supreme, because apparently Skirmish Supremacy does not fit in Twitter. And if you want to email us directly, you can reach us at tim@skirmishsupremacy.com or nick@skirmishsupremacy.com. Thanks for listening.